Hey there YouTube fans, AC Productions here, and today I'm going to be showing you on how to adjust your rear brake light switch. Now if you're wondering where your rear brake light switch is located, it's actually located right over here. Now I noticed that when I was riding my motorcycle the other day, that when I would hit the rear brake pedal, that the brake light wasn't coming on as fast as it was if I were to hit the front brakes. And when I stepped off of the bike, I wanted to check it out to see what was going on with the switch. And when I went to the switch, I've noticed that the switch is actually kind of loose. So when I had pressed the brake pedal, you know, when you press on it, you know, you want it to come pretty much instantly, like pretty much right there. And as you could see, it's not coming on. Not until you actually really press on it really hard. Right now you can't see it. Let me go turn off the light, at least one light, and then I'll come back to the video and then you could see what I'm talking about. Alright, so I turned off one light so you guys could see. I didn't turn off completely all the lights, but as you can see, I turned off one light and I put something here in the back so the light has something to reflect off when you could see when I actually press the brake pedal. So when I press the brake pedal, normally you want it to be right here. So right now, you just press it a little bit and nothing's going on. It should at least activate the brake light to signal the passengers behind you that you're about to slow down and stop. But as you could see, nothing's going on. Now even if I were to go from here and press a little bit down further, still nothing is going on. Not until I actually really press down really hard. Right about there, that's where the lights actually start to come on. So I'll do it again. Nothing. Nothing. About right over here. As you can see, I was kind of shaking just because that's how hard I have to press on the rear brake pedal just to get the lights to turn on. So in this video, I'm going to show you on how to adjust that, so when you press it lightly, even if it's not here, maybe up to right there, that the brake lights will come on and not pretty much all the way down here where they would come on. Okay, now here are the tools that you're going to need to complete this job. You're going to need a 6mm Allen key. So if you have the L-shaped one or this one with the little bit and the tool, a 17mm open end wrench. If you don't have an open end wrench like this, go ahead and get yourself an adjustable one. Either or will work. Now besides having this style of Allen key tool, if you could also use, and I think it'll be most helpful sometimes too when your screws are a little bit stubborn, is to use a handle like this in accordance with a little extension like that. So pretty much you have your extension, you got your bit, go ahead, put your extension like so, put your bit in like so. Now you have a full ratcheting system to undo the really tight, sometimes stubborn bolts. So this also comes in handy a lot. Okay, now first things first, what you want to do is you want to remove your rear heel guard. So just go ahead, pretty much remove these two screws, and your heel guard should come apart or come off. Okay, now that you've already loosened up your bolts, you go ahead and unscrew it up the rest of the way. Now mind you, when you take off your heel guard, your rear brake cylinder is also going to probably drop because it's all connected by those screws here. So let's go ahead and put this off to the side. Alright, so now that'll give you a complete access to your rear brake light switch. And at this time you want to go ahead and inspect your spring cable that's connected to your rear brake. Obviously you're not going to press it down too much because obviously it's not connected to your pedal. But if you would like to, you could go ahead and get your screws or your bolts from your plate and just go ahead and put them back in. That way this will allow you to really test out or test the switch once you get it adjusted. Actually, it'll be a better idea. So go ahead, we'll put the bolts back on, and then we don't have to tighten it in all the way, but at least to get this back on there so we can do our proper testing. Okay, so I kind of retract my previous statement about saying that you don't have to go ahead and tighten out these bolts. So I actually decided to tighten them all the way down just because that when I had just put them on loosely, the whole cylinder was kind of very loose on there, and I definitely didn't want that. I wanted to make sure everything was true and that I didn't want any slack. So if I were to have left it loose when we did our adjustment, then that could have resulted, even though this was working properly and we had set it, this part would have been all loose and pretty much would have thrown all the alignment off anyway. So just go ahead, tighten on the bolts. It doesn't have to be extremely tight, but just where it's secure enough where it doesn't move around. Alright, so at this point you want to go ahead, grab a flashlight or your cell phone light, and go ahead and we're going to inspect the spring, which is right here. Let me move the camera a little bit. Actually get a different view. Okay, hopefully at this angle you could see everything pretty well. Alright, so at this point you just want to go ahead and check your spring just to see and make sure that there's no very big rough spots, that see everything's still intact as it is. So just to make sure that there's no rough spots, or that if it's breaking or whatnot, just to check. If you do see that your spring looks about to fall apart, it'll be a good idea to go ahead and replace the spring. I'll have a link in the description below where you could purchase a brand new spring. But if yours looks to be in decent shape like mine, then right now we're just going to go ahead and just see how it is when we press the pedal. As you could see, when you move it, it looks like, as you could see this part right here, this little metal bracket down there is actually just sliding down on the spring. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to go ahead and adjust the spring. So what to do is you're going to put your 17mm open end wrench over here, and we're going to go ahead and tighten it down in a clockwise turn. So when you're tightening it down, it's bringing this the switch up more, giving it more tension on the spring. So as you can see, let me turn off the light. If I were to pull on the spring just itself, I don't even have to give it that much pull just to get the light to turn on. Alright, so if I give it a pull right now, you could see I didn't have to pull too much for the brake lights to come on. So that's what we want when we push on the brake pedal. Alright, so let's go ahead and get our wrench. And you just want to give it like just a small turn at the beginning just to see. You may even be able to do it by hand depending on how loose your switch is. So pretty much you want to just turn it enough where it's not that loose, and then pretty much turn it and then press on your pedal. You should be able to do it right at that first initial press. If not, on the second press it should turn on. And as you can see, it's not doing it. You can see a spring moving, but it's almost there. I didn't have to press as hard this time too. Maybe a little bit. Alright, so just pretty much want to keep doing it until you're satisfied on the position of when you press on it, when the light turns on. Now if you want to see how I'm doing it, just go ahead, give your pedal a push, and if it's not, just keep on turning it clockwise. Get your wrench, turn it a few times, and then go ahead and press your brake pedal. As you can see, after doing it a few times, I'm pretty much satisfied right there on that the lights are turning on. So if you see before, when we had pressed it the first time, nothing was happening. That's okay right now, but I would have liked it before that, even though on that first press like this, it wasn't turning on. The second press would turn on. So as before, no light. Now when I press it in right there, now there's light. As before, there was no light. And this time, minimal effort to actually do it. Not like before. I could probably even do it with one finger now. Okay, I give it a few more turns just to give it a little bit more sensitive response to when I had pressed the brake pedal to when it initially turned on the light. So here we are now. So as you can see, pretty much right at there, that's where it turns on. Pretty much almost instantly compared to before. I'm pretty satisfied with right where the location is now compared to how it was before. And now when I press the rear brake pedal, now my lights, as you could see, the flashing over here, they will turn on. So let's go ahead and let's put our heel guard back on. So I'm going to go ahead and remove these bolts, and then we're going to slide our heel guard back on. Now before we put the heel guard back on, I kind of wanted to put the light over here and to let you guys know that you are limited on how much turns you can do on the bolt before actually having this whole switch come out. So as you can see, I'm pretty much bottoming out right there. I think I probably could get away with a few more turns, but if you turn it so much where this whole switch actually pops out of here, then you know that the spring is pretty much already had lost its tension, and you're gonna have to go ahead and replace the spring. So at this point, I think I'm about at its limits. I think I probably could have gotten away with just a few more turns, but as for now, I'm okay. So maybe on the next time I need to adjust it, If I can get away with a few more, that's great, but if not, at that point in time, I'm gonna probably have to replace the spring. So I just kind of wanted to give you guys also a heads up and showing you your limits of how much more you can turn the nut up there until you have the whole switch actually pop out of its surface there. And since we are still in this location, I also wanted to show you that not only are you pressing on this spring, this just activates your brake light switch, but you have a secondary spring which gives you that tension for your rear brakes. So when you press on it, the first part is going to be your brake light, but the real tension is coming from this bigger spring that's located right behind there, as you can see. So when you pull on, when you press on, you're actually going to be you press on both actually, and that's what makes you feel that tension on there. Okay, now that we have our rear heel guard back in place, go ahead and test our lights again. You can see minimal effort now to actually get the lights to turn on. Well, I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, hit that like button. If you haven't yet subscribed, please subscribe. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. And thank you for watching.